A challenging week ahead for the Winnipeg Jets with 4 games in 6 days, starting tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. Good evening and welcome to the JetsTV Live pregame show presented by Budweiser. I'm Jamie Thomas. The Jets welcome back defenseman Josh Morrissey on Sunday, and what a return it was. Mitchell Clinton will have his thoughts on that return, and of course the Jets' upcoming schedule. We'll go one-on-one with Jets sniper Patrik Laine. Former Winnipeg Jet and current Chicago Blackhawks analyst Eddie Olczyk will also stop by. But first, let's go inside the Jets dressing room. Here's thoughts on tonight's game, starting with Captain Blake Wheeler on a Chicago Blackhawk team that's dropped 7 games in a row.
I think we're worried about us, what we can control, and that's getting off to a good start, having a good first 20 minutes. And that's no different, regardless of who we're playing. So, obviously there's things you want to guard against, but we're worried about our group and getting off to a good start.
Well, I think they still have a lot of great players and they have a lot of individual skill on the team, and I know they're on a 7-game slide, so they're going to go out hungry. They're looking to end that thing, and last game I think we kind of got into a track meet against them, and we're trading goals, and we got up big, and they kind of made it close near the end. So we got to be aware that we don't really want to open up this game against them. They could score goals. They still have some of the great players from the years where they were cup contenders. So we got to make sure we're ready to start. I think you look at the Philly game, and Helly was huge in the first period. We were pretty slow. They generated a lot of chances and easily could have been down 2 or 3 goals. So I think that's a big thing, is get off to a better start tonight.
We just don't force any plays or make whole plays that gives into their transition, really. So hard defensively, safe plays, make them when you see them, and then if not, you work their decor, and that should be it.
They're a very powerful team. The manifestation of that in terms of difference is what we're seeing. We see less opportunity for odd man rushes by the offensive blue line. So they're aware of some of our speed and that skill. So we've been working on making that mental adjustment of, if we just play our game, we're not necessarily going to get more at the offensive line. And we have to accept that. So teams are very aware of transition speed. They're careful with their high forward in the offensive zone, which can be a benefit to us. I think we're 4th or 5th in the league in terms of time spent in our end of the ice with them having possession of the puck. If they have to continually position their team to be aware of that, your breakouts can be a little bit cleaner. But we have to be more accepting of that neutral zone of what we're going to get, and not forcing the issue.
Jets fans, your Winnipeg Jets wore special Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys during warm-up on November 29th versus the Chicago Blackhawks. These special jerseys are now being auctioned off to raise money to support the Cancer Care Manitoba Foundation. Be sure to place your bids before the auction closes on Sunday, December 16th. Visit winnipegjets.com or auctions.nhl.com/WinnipegJets to bid on one of these one-of-a-kind collector's items. He is one of a kind. He is Mitchell Clinton of JetsTV, is the reporter for this hockey club. Josh Morrissey returned to the lineup in a 7-1 victory over top of the Philadelphia Flyers. Mitch, after missing 2 games, that was a ho-hum night. He had a goal and 2 assists. What did you think of number 44's return?
I thought he was fantastic. I mean, of course, anytime Josh Morrissey comes back in the lineup, the left side of the Jets' defense gets solidified just that much more. Great depth in the organization, as we talked about leading into that. But anytime you can get Josh Morrissey back, it's going to help you. He played 20 minutes, but I think the big thing was that power play goal that he scored. You'll recall the St. Louis Blues kind of held the Jets' power play unit off the board. Despite the great chances that they did have, Jets went 0 for 6. But Morrissey's goal, I think, kind of opened the floodgates, not only offensively, but on the power play as well. It came from the second unit, which is another big plus. So I think it was that goal was huge. And then you look at him just overall at 5-on-5, his Corsi was 63%. It was the second highest on the team in that game. So if your number 1 pairing left-handed defenseman is putting up those kinds of numbers against the competition that he's going to face, it was a good outing for Josh Morrissey.
Jets getting that power play goal means they've gone, they're only team in the NHL not to go 2 games without scoring a power play goal, so there's that. Connor Hellebuck is, last 3 starts, only allowed 1 goal, but it is Laurent Brossoit tonight. Why the switch in goal for the Jets tonight?
Paul Maurice described it as a numbers thing. So basically what it kind of breaks down to is this. 10 days ago was Laurent Brossoit's last start. It came against the New Jersey Devils, and of course you'll recall he makes that big save in overtime. And Adam Lowry was kind of talking about that save and the kind of saves that he's been making even since the start of training camp, where he's battling throughout every drill, every shot that he faces. And that, as a backup goaltender, especially a guy coming to a new organization, can really endear you to him. So that's the kind of stuff that they kind of have seen from Laurent Brossoit, and the players really like to play in front of him in that regard. It's also because the upcoming schedule for the Jets is going to get a little bit hectic. Yeah. 15 games in 23 days, and then once January 4th hits, they got 9 games in 15 days. So they're going to need both goaltenders going. Connor Hellebuyck, obviously, like you wrote about earlier this week, kind of returning back to form, the form that he expects out of himself, and Laurent Brossoit has also been bringing that with his .935 this year.
Funny you bring up the schedule, because the Jets do have a rather daunting schedule this week. 4 games in 6 nights, twice against the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, the Blackhawks aren't playing well right now, but it's tonight against Chicago. Thursday, the Edmonton Oilers come to town, and Connor McDavid. The Jets will take off that night, play in Chicago on Friday. Then Sunday, it is the NHL's best Tampa Bay Lightning in town. What kind of schedule are you looking, or how are the Jets going to handle this coming up?
Well, the thing with the Chicago Blackhawks, like you mentioned, not where they want to be in the standings. But Paul Maurice kind of touched on it this morning. You dive into the analytics on this team. Offensively, they're a lot to handle. Corsi-wise, top half of the league, actually 1 spot ahead of the Winnipeg Jets. You look at scoring chances that they've created. They're 7th in the National Hockey League, so they're an absolute handful to handle offensively, which, I mean, you have Patrik Laine on your team as well as a number of others. You're going to be a handful offensively. Then you look at the Edmonton Oilers, who have won 7 of 10 going into tonight under Ken Hitchcock. And then, of course, you remember the last time the Oilers were in town against the Jets, getting out of here with that comeback overtime win. So a lot of incentive there. Then the Tampa Bay Lightning, best team in the National Hockey League so far. 7-game win streak. They play Toronto on Thursday in Tampa Bay before starting a road trip that begins in Winnipeg. So obviously a lot to look forward to. And then the Jets head off into California to kind of start a couple of game road trip and end in Vancouver before the holiday break. So a whole lot of stuff coming up, but first they got to handle business tonight.
Yeah, there's a chance Andrei Vasilevsky will be back in goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning on the start of that road trip for Tampa on Sunday. Mitch, really appreciate the time. It's a good time for the Finns in the National Hockey League right now, Mitch. Mikko Rantanen leads the NHL in scoring. Pekka Rinne is the best goaltender in terms of save percentage. And, of course, there's the Winnipeg Jets' Patrik Laine, who I spoke to earlier today. Patrik, the Chicago Blackhawks are in town tonight, not having the best of seasons, but what makes them a dangerous hockey team?
Well, obviously they have great individuals. Obviously, Taves and Kane on the obviously forwards, and then they have good defense too and a good goalie. Yeah, I think they haven't played their own game this year, but they're always a tough opponent, and that's what we're expecting tonight.
It's your 3rd year in the National Hockey League. How are you liking your defensive side of your game right now?
Could be better, but overall I think we're creating more chances to their end than our own end. But there's always a lot to improve, and as a line we can play better defense and not give the opponent anything easily, and just play. I think the best defense is great offense.
Absolutely, and when you played with Brian Little for a long time, how are you enjoying having Kyle Connor on the other side of the line?
He's great. He's a really good player. He's fast. He can make the plays from top speed, and he can think pretty quick too. He can pass the puck pretty well, and I think overall he's just a great player and a lot of fun to play with.
Along with yourself, a lot of Finns are having success in the National Hockey League right now. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. It's obviously awesome to see that a lot of my friends around the league are doing well. Obviously, Mikko is leading the league in points, so that's pretty unreal. So it's always fun to watch other Finns and how they're doing, and now we're doing great. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
Appreciate the time. Good luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
50/50 tickets are now available online for all Winnipeg Jets games. Buy yours before the start of the 3rd period by visiting tnyf.ca/50/50 in support of the True North Youth Foundation.
Well, the man to my right doesn't need any introduction, but I will introduce him anyways. He is former Winnipeg Jet and current Chicago Blackhawk television analyst Eddie Olczyk. Just talking while that Patrik Laine interview ran, asking you who have you seen in your lifetime that has a shot as good as Patrik Laine's, and you had a pretty good answer.
Well, Jamie, it's good to see you, and it's always great to be back here in Winnipeg, and thank you for having me on your show. To me, when I see Patrik Laine, he reminds me of Brett Hull. Right-handed shot, hands in front, in behind, right off to the side. The release is what separates both of those guys from the thousands of hockey players that have played in the National Hockey League for many years. But when I see Laine and he's ready to shoot and he gets in the wheelhouse, I automatically think back to Brett Hull, no question.
When you look, as a visiting broadcaster, do you get excited when you see Patrik Laine with the puck on his stick?
Yeah, because you know something's good's going to happen.
Right.
The Jets have a boat full of incredible young players on their team, offensive, talented players, and having been with the Blackhawk organization for the last 12 years, I've seen the maturation of Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. Guys coming through. Big Buff was there, of course, Dustin Byfuglien earlier, but you know, when we get the opportunity, Jamie, to see some of the best players in our game, but when you have them in your own city and you see them on a daily basis, you really get a truer appreciation for it. And you know, I mentioned a guy like Mark Scheifele. Like, to me, like, I think he's worked himself into being a top 10 player in the National Hockey League. There's no doubt. And he may be the most underrated player in the league because of what he can do in all situations for Paul Morrissey and the Winnipeg Jets. But it's fun. Yeah, I mean, you know when Laine gets the puck from the blue line in, there's a chance that the puck's going to end up in the back of the net. So your producer and your director better be ready because you're going to have to start rolling a few replays.
12 years covering the Chicago Blackhawks. You've seen Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook, a big chunk of that. They're 1,000 games together. How special is that, two players being together for so long on the blue line?
Well, they've been such an important part of 3 championships for the Blackhawks, Jamie, the last 8, 9 years, whatever it's been. You know, Duncan Keith is, I mean, he's pretty much done it all. I mean, he has been a power play guy. He's been a shutdown guy. He's been a Norris Trophy winner, playing against other teams' top guys. And a guy like Brent Seabrook, who I think has probably been the unsung leader of this team inside the locker room and kind of being a real voice. And we all know what Jonathan Toews is and has been for the Blackhawks. But those two guys have, I mean, they came into the league together, and they've done exactly what the Hawks have wanted. You need defensemen. You need defensemen to be able to win in this league. And when you look at what they've done, their body of work in their career, you can't argue with what they've been able to do. And you know, Seabrook's got a sneaky shot. He's dropped the gloves with the best of guys, and maybe when he was a little bit younger. And he's killed penalties and scored some of the biggest goals in franchise history. So I think he's got 4. Don't quote me, but I think he's got 4 or 5 overtime winners in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, for a forward, that's a lot. For a defenseman, I mean, that's more like 10 or 11, really. Yeah. So, 2 guys who, in my opinion, will be Hall of Famers. I don't think there's any doubt about that, with the body of work and the gold medals and what they've achieved individually in Chicago.
It's such a strange time for the Chicago Blackhawk organization. It still shakes my head when I look at it. They've lost 7 in a row. They're hanging on the bottom part of the conference in the league.
Dead last.
Yeah.
So, let's tell
Call a spade a spade. Yeah.
They're dead last in the league. Yeah.
And are you as shocked as many people are, or did you say it was just a matter of time, right?
Well, I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah.
You kind of saw it coming last year. I mean, look, if I'm doing my math right, 113 games ago, this franchise was 3rd overall in the entire National Hockey League with 109 points, and they were leading the Western Conference. It's only 113 games. It's not 300 or 400. Yeah. It's been a year and 31 games. You look at it and go, look, since the trade of Nicholas Hjalmarsson and Artemi Panarin, they've been in a downward spiral since. And there's no other way around it. Defensively, they're not very good. They're having a real difficult time. Of course, they fired Joel Quenneville. They brought in Jeremy Colleton. It's pretty much the same roster. They got Connor Murphy back, a veteran guy who played a good game the other night against Montreal. But a lot of it stems from them not being very good in their own zone. And when you play against teams like Winnipeg, teams like Edmonton, teams that can really skate and generate offense, and you spend a lot of time in your own zone, the analytics say that you're going to give up a lot of goals, and that's what's happened here. And they're having a tough time scoring. But they think that they're playing better. But they have their work cut out for them. They've lost, I think, 7 in a row now. They have the Jets tonight. They play Pittsburgh tomorrow night. The Jets are in Chicago on Friday. San Jose's there on Sunday. Nashville's there on Tuesday. Then they go to Dallas, Colorado for a back-to-back. And then you have Florida right before Christmas. So 7 can become 13 really quick, 14 really quick if you can't find a way to defend better and put yourself in a spot to win. They've been falling behind, Jamie, in a lot of games here. Not 1-0, 2-0. Yeah. And it's tough to chase in the National Hockey League. So am I surprised? Yeah, I'm a bit surprised they're at the bottom of the National Hockey League. But I thought last year with the way their defense was assembled, if they didn't improve that, they were going to be in the same spot. And unfortunately for them, they're 31st out of 31 teams in the league.
One last one for you. The last time you guys were in town, it was Hockey Fights Cancer Night. What did you think of the tribute the Jets paid to you, and was that how great was that for you?
Look, it's always great to come back home. I consider Winnipeg a place that my wife and I and our family laid our hat for almost 6 years of my 16 years in the National Hockey League. Jamie is home, and I was thrilled. I seeked out Mark Shipman right away. I seeked out Chevy and thanked them very much for recognizing me back here in Winnipeg on such a special night. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say that Hockey Fights Cancer in the month of November might be the greatest initiative the National Hockey League has ever come up with. They do so much for so many people, and now being a survivor and being right in the middle of it, it means a lot. So to be recognized by the great Jets fans here in the MTS Center, and I'd like to go back and take one more lap around the old arena, but I know it's not over there anymore. But every time I go by Polo Park, it brings back a lot of memories. But I was just very thankful, and I thank them again for recognizing me being back in the city. And I always enjoy coming to Winnipeg, like I said, because it's home for me. And the incredible support, I would like to say, if I could, from the organization. Last year when I was going through my colon cancer battle, the notes, the calls I got, my buddy Zinger, who was with me when I was playing here, and he was a trainer. Now he's a big-time management guy.
Big time.
Yeah, right-handed man for Chevy. But the entire organization was great, and I got a lot of notes and cards from the great fan base here, so I would like to thank them. Had enough quiet time to last me a lifetime when I was going through my battle, but the support that I had, I really felt that, we did it. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the Jets and the Jets organization and a lot of the players too. Just reaching out and seeing me along the battle. It was hockey, as you know, Jamie. Hockey people are pretty good.
You know what? I speak on behalf of JetsTV, all the guys that work here, and the ladies behind the scenes, and Jets fans themselves. We're really happy things are going well for you health-wise, and thank you so much for doing this.
Feeling good, Jamie. Always great to be with you, and thanks for having me.
That's Ed Olczyk. Let's go inside the Blackhawks dressing room, a one-on-one with Duncan Keith. Duncan celebrating 1,000 games one more time here. You've already had 1,000 games in the NHL. Now it's 1,000 games with Brent Seabrook. What does this accomplishment mean to you?
Well, it means a lot. Brent's a good friend of mine. We've obviously played together a long time, so it's been fun. We've been fortunate to be on some good teams, and we've won 3 times together. So we lived together our first year in the league, and a lot of good memories. Too many to sit here and talk about, but it's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Just being his teammates. You can't think of a better guy to have been able to do that with.
When you go back to the first time you met Brent, did you ever expect the friendship to be what it is today?
Not really. I just think that we both were hungry to have success, and I knew that he was a high pick and a high draft pick for the Hawks and playing in the Western League. So. Got to know each other a little bit through our prospect camps, and then obviously out with the Hawks, and it's been a fun ride so far.
I know there's still plenty more hockey left in you, but how fortunate do you feel to be with one team this long?
Yeah, I feel fortunate. I know it doesn't happen that often anymore, so it's been a privilege to be able to be on the Hawks this long, and we've got great ownership with Rocky Wirtz and the Wirtz family, so. We get treated great, and it's a great city, so it's been fun.
I appreciate it. Congratulations again.
All right, thank you.
Well, Ground Control, the official podcast, the Winnipeg Jets. Episode 9 is available right now for download. Tyler Esquivel, myself, Mitchell Clinton, and special guest Nikolai Ehlers, who will discuss his thoughts on the Global Series in Denmark, Christmas in his home country, and his dad Heinz being the head coach of the national program. Download that today. And make sure you tune the JetsTV Live post-game show for your chance to get 50 Jets reward points, and that code word, we'll have that for you right after the 3 stars. So on behalf of Mitchell Clinton, Patrik Laine, Ed Olczyk, and Duncan Keith, I'm Jamie Thomas. Thanks so much for watching the JetsTV Live pregame show presented by Budweiser. We'll see you after the game.